Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today. And we're going to start off with a quick little recap over the weekend, what happened in primarily the heavyweight division and the outfall, if you will, of a couple of fights that took place on the same night in the same city of Toledo, Ohio, where we saw a big heavyweight contender, Arslanbek Makhmudov. He made his United States debut, but he's actually fighting out of Montreal, so not too far away from Toledo. Anyway, he believes he made the right step in terms of his knockout in moving a step closer to a mandatory shot at Tyson Fury. As he's described, the Wrecking Ball moved to 17-0 with 16 knockouts, fighting on the Jared Anderson undercard. The Jared Anderson fight against Charles Martin was described and explained in great detail by Cedric Ben on his scorecard show the other day. So if you want to check that out, feel free. But in this case, as I said, on this undercard, we saw Makhmudov retain his NABF heavyweight crown, which sets up the potential clash with Anderson next and potentially Tyson Fury down the road. We'll wait and see. Makhmudov, he's ranked number 5 by the WC, blasted out the previously unbeaten Rafael Akpajori in the second round. Akpajori dropped to 15-1 with 14 knockouts after the loss. The two had entered the contest with a combined record of 31-0. But Makhmudov's amateur experience paid the dividends he needed to get the victory. The 34-year-old dropped Akpajori with a flurry of initiated right uppercuts, a punch that landed frequently, and he dropped Akpajori again in the final seconds of the opening stanza, but the Nigerian survived despite wobbling to his feet. And after another knockdown in the second round, referee Wes Melton deemed Akpajori unable to continue. And as we now find out, Makhmudov could battle Jared Anderson to be ranked number 3 by the time Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz happen, if they happen next. And Deontay Wilder, in another story we'll see, has indicated he's quite happy to wait until his clash with Anthony Joshua taking place in Saudi Arabia, possibly December, possibly January. We still have to wait and see. The WBC final eliminator, sanctioned by President Mauricio Suleiman, will see Makhmudov rated as the new number 1 once the pair finalize their duel. So it was a good fight all around for Makhmudov, as I say, fighting out of Montreal, which puts North America in quite a good place with respect to the heavyweight division. We also saw Jalolov get signed to Top Rank. Somewhat of a peculiar case, though, because he was with Disrupt Boxing, so I'm a little unsure how that's going to play out. According to BoxingNews24.com, one of our favorite writers, Alan Fox says Jared Anderson did what he had to do for him to defeat the dangerous former IBF heavyweight champ Charles Martin by decision, 10-round unanimous decision. As I said earlier, he now moves to 15-0, 14 knockouts. He looked good in his offense, reminding some of the bigger versions of Shakur Stevenson, and looking sharp and showing skills that haven't been seen from the heavyweights of this era. Again, it's my opinion, but I tell you, he's the next Mike Tyson. The question now is, who should the 23-year-old Jared Anderson fight next? ESPN's Christina Poncher said top-ranked promoter Bob Barron is planning on matching Jared against Jan Kosabotsky, but that remains to be seen. Other fighters in the heavyweight division who he might take a shot at and move a step closer to those big 5 over in the UK. Take a look at Frank Sanchez, a look at the previously mentioned Arslanbek Makhmudov, Efe Ajagba, or Andy Ruiz Jr. himself. Either one of those fights would certainly be a decent challenge for Anderson, and would certainly be a great fight to see in any case, as he moves up towards, as I say, clashing with Tyson Fury or even an Anthony Joshua, but somewhat unrealistic this year. And what does Deontay Wilder have to say about all this action in the heavyweight division? Not much. I mean, he's looking forward to fighting Andy Ruiz Jr., but that doesn't look like it's going to happen because Andy Ruiz Jr. wants a 50-50 split, but he's not going to get that. I mean, I don't think he's fought in over a year. in the last couple of fights. He's basically been fighting older heavyweights, guys past their prime. Would he get clobbered by Wilder? Maybe. Does Wilder need the fight? No. So realistically, and does Wilder need the money? No. So again, according to a couple of writers over on BoxingNews24.com, Dan Ambrose says who he should be looking at fighting. This would be Deontay Wilder. He should be looking at fighting Frank Sanchez, Ajit Kabayal, Dempsey McKean would be a good one, Otto Wallen, or again, the oft-mentioned F.A. Agjagba. So as I said, we want to see that heavyweight division shaken up, and it is now being shaken up by some American fighters coming up through the ranks, as well as those fighting out of Montreal as well. Former WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, because he has retired, has offered to help his Queensbury stablemate Joe Joyce prepare for his upcoming match with Chinese giant Zhilai Zhang. Back in April, Zhang pulled off a shaka when he stopped Joyce in 6 rounds. Joyce's right eye was swollen shut, which prompted the ringside doctor to wave off the fight, as we all know. A few weeks would follow before Joyce would exercise his contractual clause for an immediate rematch. Coincidentally, Fury was attempting to secure Zhang as his next opponent, but those discussions were roadblocked when Joyce forced the rematch. The second fight takes place on September 23rd at Wembley. The winner will walk away with a mandatory position to fight unified champ Alexander Usyk. Fury would like to see his countryman come out on top, which is why he's offering his services in training camp. And the two boxers have sparred in the past. This is a message to Big Joe Joyce. Joe, I saw you got the Zhang fight coming up again. If you want some proper southpaw from someone who's got bigger, fatter, quicker, harder puncher, everything than Zhang, please come up to Morecambe and do some sparring with me, said Fury. It can only improve and make it better. And trust me on this, I've got the secret for you, and I know how to beat Zhang. Chop him down like an old oak tree. The offer's there, Joe. Get yourself down to Morecambe Bay. Do as many rounds with myself. Get up there. Can't say any better than that. I won't change it a lot. Just 100,000 quid a round. Fury's next fight is still in limbo. However, there have been recent whispers of a promotional potential exhibition clash with former UFC heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou would again see him likely lose his belt because the WBC have stated as much. I don't really need to go over that again. We talked about it last week. Speaking of rematches, it looks like the stage is set for Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall rematch. Now that Savannah Marshall is the new undisputed female super middleweight champ of the world, she is potentially on a collision course for a rematch with arch rival Claressa Shields, who was the loudest person in the AO arena when Marshall dethroned Franchon Cruz de Zern in Manchester, in England, this past Saturday night. And Shields had some choice comments for Marshall afterwards. I will fight her at whatever weight she wants to fight at, Shields said. She's going to get beat up. That's what's going to happen. I saw a lot of weaknesses, and she didn't learn from her last fight. I agreed with the first judge. You had it 95-95. The fight was close. I expected a better performance from both girls. There you go. Claressa Shields promoter Dimitri Salita says staging a rematch against Savannah Marshall in the U.S. naturally makes sense. Marshall became the undisputed super middleweight champ, as I said, on Saturday with a majority decision over Cruz de Zern, with Shields present at ringside, who is managed by Dimitri Salita. So anyway, Shields has been adamant that any second fight with Marshall would have to take place in the States after she had emerged victorious with a unanimous decision in an October grudge match between the pair. And upon beating Cruz de Zern to become the undisputed super middleweight champ on Saturday night, Marshall outlined Newcastle St. James Park as an ideal venue for the contest, however, with contrasting opinions prompting heated words in the post-fight press conference. Claressa was in the UK supporting her friend Franchon. Oddly enough, during the ring announcement, I realized that the only loss on each fighter's record was to Claressa, Salita told Sky Sports. Certainly a fight with Marshall is something that we would explore. Claressa came to the UK for the first fight, so it naturally makes sense for the second fight to happen in the US, probably at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. And for the last story of the day, again out of the UK and again out of some peculiar ego, I think. But let's talk about Tony Bellew. Tony wants to make a sensational comeback against a knockout machine in the Bridgerweight division. If he formally asks the WBC, they will grant Bellew's wishes. Lukaz Rozanski has been targeted by the Bomber despite knocking out heavyweight Arslanbek in one round last April. The pair contest the newest member of the WBC Championships after the sanctioning body added an 18th in 2021. The rugged Pole has 14 stoppages and 15 victories and would strike fear through many contenders at that weight. However, Tony is not one of them. Liverpool's ex-champ turned boxing pundit wants the smoke and sees Rozanski as an easy path to becoming a multi-division ruler. Tony previously ruled as cruiserweight champ between 2016 and 2017. Despite retiring almost 5 years ago, Tony believes it's time to make a return now and claims future glory is ripe. Rozanski is someone I think I could beat. I'm not going to lie. I'm 40 years of age, and I don't know if I could make a comeback. But I'm getting ready for filming for Creed 3. That is the movie last year. I got in really good shape. I ended up seeing a lot of abs I hadn't seen the best part of a decade and thought, why not? To be totally honest, I couldn't make cruiserweight again safely. I'm straight up to the point, but I could make Bridgerweight nice and comfortable. If I'm being honest, I think I'd absolutely pulverize Rozanski. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I have to go back to the gym for a little bit and spend some time there. Have I still got it? I don't know. I'm not completely out of shape. I've always stayed in shape, but I don't know. He added, I don't listen to dreamers. I'm just a kid from Liverpool, and the thought of becoming a two-weight world champion, I'd probably be the oldest UK champion that I can remember, would be a feat that would be great. I know my body can get through a camp. I know I can do it. All right, there you have it. Boxing fans, appreciate you joining me for another episode of Boxing News Today here on Talk and Fight. Remember to join me later on at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Knuckle Up with Mike Orr. Remember, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you later on.